guys, how's it going? So, why the tone wood debate ain't never going to end. I was going to get into this because I do believe that tone wood on a solid body electric guitar does make a difference, okay? Now, there's guitar makers out there that have gotten into this, Chapman guitars, Galvin guitars, Fender got their nose into it too, and of course a lot of other musicians. Scott Groves got into it, and I mean, he's not a guitar builder, but I mean, the guy's worked on a lot of guitars. And I mean, I've played a lot of guitars, and I've owned a lot of guitars, you know, over the years, and myself, and you know, I never used to really even think about tone when it came to the woods, right? And I would just, you know, I'd go out and I'd be looking at guitars, see what I could find that I could afford and what I liked, and you know, and what it sounded like, you know, and so, and that would make my decision. Now, acoustic guitars, it's extremely critical with the woods being used on acoustics, right? And that's kind of a no-brainer, and everybody knows that. Even everybody will admit to that it does make a huge difference on acoustics. It also will on hollow body electrics, and I also feel too that semi-hollow body electrics, it makes a difference, although that's where it starts to lose its criticalness, right, is in a semi-hollow body, but it's still critical, right? When it comes to a solid body, real solid, okay, the amount of effect that tone wood actually has on a guitar is there. It can be noticed under, you know, the right circumstances and testing, and you know, you can hear the difference. And I had thought of a way to actually, you know, say here's a way to prove it, and I was going to challenge a bunch of guys to actually do it, but Chapman's pretty much covered it in the video I saw this morning on their channel, and I thought, okay, there's only one other thing more that they could do. Take the 2ML1s, but instead of having different wood as far as each being a solid body, take one ML1 and do the tests with it, you know, show us everything, right? And then have Chapman's build a laminated body for an ML1. Now, I'm going to tell you something right now what a lot of you guys are not being told or don't understand, in fact, and that's that when it comes to the pickups, okay, the hardware also needs to match, by the way, to see if there's a difference. As far as 2ML1s would go, or 2 Strats or whatever, okay? But you need to laminate the body to start with on one, so a solid body on one, laminated on the other, and even on the same wood you should notice a difference, okay, doing this. And when I talk laminated, I don't mean, you know, a chunk here and a chunk there and a chunk there and change the woods. What I'm saying is take a body, a chunk of wood you're going to use for the body, and cut it up into 1/4 inch sections, okay? Make your thick main piece that you're going to have to CNC out, right? Because that's what guitar companies do. They run CNC machines. That's how they get done pretty close to each other all the time within reasonable limits. But laminate the layers. Slice that big wide board into 1/4 inch slices, and then glue it all together, laminate it together. Now see, glue causes the body to be even more rigid and not very flexible, okay? It also deadens frequencies a lot, okay? So, you know, the wood no longer touches the other layer of wood. It can't, it's impossible. That's why the glue is there, and the glue is a barrier, okay? And so it's going to change harmonics and frequencies that the body can resonate at, right? So the fact is tone wood does make a difference in an electric guitar, solid body. However, it's not as big of a difference. And Chapman's, they went, and what they did, I would say pretty much sums it up anyhow. they took one with, I believe it was a mahogany body, and the other one was swamp ash. Everything else they said was the same, okay? And there was a bit of an acoustical difference through the amp, but through the dirty channel, it's going to be very difficult to ping that out, okay? So you'd really have to oscilloscope both guitars. The only thing is even though they wound and cut the pickups the way they said they did to match, okay, within like, I guess, a millimeter, that's where the thing is when you're winding pickups, okay, whether you're winding them by hand or you're winding them by machine. Now, I'm a machinist by trade, and I know all about this stuff and how metals stretch and the molecular structure of metal, and it's never the same from one spool of wire to the next or one chunk of bar metal to the next, okay? It's never precisely the same. It's impossible to do this and to recreate it. That's why there's no such thing as a million originals, because there's only one ever original and everything else is basically, it's a copy, right? So, or a clone, and it's usually pretty close, but there's always little minute differences. So when you wind a pickup, for example, by machine, there's a certain amount of tension that the wire has to be under load on with the machine so that everything can get coiled back and forth the way it needs to be done, whatever, right? And it goes at whatever speed it goes at, it doesn't matter. That wire is being pulled and stretched at. When you wind a pickup by hand, you're not pulling and stretching at that wire. So even if you're talking the wire from the same machine that should make the same pickup, it doesn't matter how you do this mathematics or how you want to rip it apart. When the wire is caught in the end and then wired onto the main system to hook into the guitar, even the wire lengths are not going to be exactly and precisely the same. The winds are not going to be exactly and precisely the same from one pickup to the next, okay, even though they're supposed to be. Even the magnetic field of each magnet in the pickup is not exactly and precisely 100% guaranteed the same. There's always going to be little minute differences. So the only way to really show it off in that sense would be to say, okay, instead of taking two ML1s, that was a great job, Chapman did a good job on that one, and there was a noticeable tonal difference, right? But you would, to be really fair about this, would be to take all the hardware, and that includes the tuning pegs, because even they're never 100% equal. So to see if there's a real difference, right, in the tone woods and how the wood is put together on the body, take all the hardware so you know you're working with the exact same precise pickups, okay, the same wiring, the same pots, no two 200 ohm or 500 ohm or 5K pots, whatever they are going to be exactly and precisely 100% the same. So if you want to keep everything the same, that's how you got to do it, right? Now, you can do this, right, and really go right into it, right? And you're still going to have people debating this war until the end of time, because nobody believes crap, okay? They would like to say, oh, I'd like to believe this. I mean, you got guitar makers out there. One says, yeah, it makes a difference. The other one says, no, it doesn't make a difference. 50 more say, yes, it makes a difference. 8 more say, no, there is no difference. Now, acoustically, Scott Gross did the test with 2 identical guitars side by side, and he did an acoustic test, okay? So they're not plugged in or anything. He did an acoustic test, and they sounded the same. Well, they both had the same strings too, right? And they're both identical guitars and made out of the same woods. The difference was a paint job, basically, and I think one other minor thing. But you can check out his video on that one. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to take it a step above Scott Gross, and I'm going to do my own little test myself. And this is what you need to do. And I'm not even going to bother to do this test. I'm just going to tell you what I did and what my findings were. I have my Chord X2 guitar that I have on my lap right now. I also have an Yamaha ERG 121, and so for those of you who haven't seen it, I'll give you a view of that in a second. And I even went and as far as adding my Denver acoustic guitar into the mix and put it up against the guitars, and acoustically everything sounds, for my hearing aspect, they sound the same, okay? So not plugged in, the guitars against each other, the electrics sounded the same. Now one's a left-handed version, one's a right-handed version, and they are 2 totally different guitars, okay? So You know, here's a good viewpoint of my court. Okay. Now I'm going to show you my Yamaha. And I'll show you my acoustic too. I recently changed the strings on my Denver acoustic, and they've got Martin lights on them now. Now both of my guitars, also my electrics, both have the exact same D'Addario 9-gauge strings, and I'll get into strings in a second. But there's my Yamaha, the red and black jobby there, and it's got dual hums and a single coil, right? Totally different friggin' guitar, yet acoustically against my Chord X, it sounds the same. Putting my acoustic guitar acoustically against the Yamaha and my Chord X, they also sound the same. So that would almost say to some people, well, tone wood doesn't make a damn difference in even acoustics. Well, yeah, it does. It's massive, major critical in acoustics. Okay? I don't care what anybody says, it is. However, in the world of electrics, even though it does actually make a difference, you're only going to hear that on the jacked in clean channel. Okay? Not on the dirty channel. So you can take it any way you like. I really don't care what you think. It's up to you. Everybody has their own opinions, their own ideas, their own thoughts. But even with me going above Scott Grove's test and completely different guitars altogether, yes, acoustically and not jacked in, they will sound the same, right? And even with the same strings. My Martin strings are different than these, right? And acoustic strings are thicker, and acoustically, listening to it, it sounded the same to me. Of course, the guitar is in tune, it's in tune. That's all there is to it, right? And so you'd actually have to get into an oscilloscope level on everything, but then that's really not fair when you're comparing two different guitars, right? Because the humbuckers are not the same humbuckers or the same amount of windings as what's in this guitar, right? And nor will they be the same in a Les Paul, whether it's a Gibson Les Paul, an Epiphone Les Paul, any of the Strats from Squier or from Fender, any of that, they're not going to be the same. And there's no such thing as being two exactly, perfectly the same pickups, okay? Even in one guitar with two humbuckers. These are not exactly and precisely the same. And if I switch positions from this pickup, I take this pickup out and I throw it down here, and take this pickup and I put it up here, I guarantee you there's going to be a sound difference, So right now I go down to the bridge pickup, okay? Now I'll go to the neck pickup. Different, right? This is the neck, right down to the bridge. Okay? So if I switch these pickups, and they're supposed to be the same pickups, right? You would think. They're going to change the sound completely, right? So the amount of effect tone wood has on a solid body electric, it is there. Believe me, it actually really is there. But the amount of difference is not mass scale, but there is a difference, And but like I said, you can believe what you want, think what you want. It's all going to be you. This debate, I guarantee you, it's not going to end. People are still going to be moaning and groaning for the next 9 million years over this one, okay? And nobody will ever believe anybody right. Even if you take the majority, and the majority is 50,000 guys say, yes, it makes a difference in solid bodies, and you got, 48,000 people that say, no, it makes no difference whatsoever, the majority's going to win one way or another, right? You would think no, because there's always going to be another whackload of people out there eventually that are going to have their opinions and their ideas, and this is one war that ain't nobody and no guitar company is ever going to win, because even people, especially people who are wise to things in life, are still not going to believe a company. And I'll tell you why. Because I don't either. I only believe what I can hear myself, on my equipment, right? It's like if I jack this guitar into a different amp, and I've got a different amp here, okay? I'll jack it in for you, but first, and this is the thing, right? Bridge pickup, okay? Now I'm using my metally stick distortion pedal for this, and the only thing I'm going to do here for a difference is I'm going to pull the jack out of my Roland amp, and I'm going to plug it into my Meridian amp, and that's it. That's all I've done. Okay. Now, for those of you who don't believe that I did something different, I'm going to put the camera. Because some of you are going to say, oh, you changed something, you changed something. No, I didn't. There you go, right on camera for you. Now I'm on the clean channel on the amp. Okay. Treble, bass, centered. Volume control, tone control, okay? I don't know how well you're going to see this. There we go. I'm going to keep everything in view as best as I can. Okay, so that's all the way up. That's all the way up. Okay, just a bridge. Distortion pedal. This is the metally stick. Now, I'm just going to unplug it, plug it in to here. Channel. Okay, so there you go. I didn't scam anybody, see? So, now the Meridian amp is actually a way better amp than the little Rock Tech by far. The point is, guys, is amplifiers, if you have a really good amp, it helps a lot. I mean, I'm not saying my Roland XL Cube is like the best thing out there, but for an in-house practice amp at 15 watts, it sounds like about 50,000. It's a really good amp, and it's very clean. And my controls are all at 12 o'clock on both amps that I just did. Okay, and you can hear a massive difference between both amps, right? One's a Roland XL 15 Cube, right? And the other one is a Meridian AK15G, which is also a 15 watt amp, but it's got a little 6-inch speaker in it. Now, if I was to put an 8-inch speaker into that Meridian amp, would it sound the same as the Roland? Are you kidding me? They're not even in the same league with the electronics. So there's no way, and there's no mid-range control on the Meridian amp. Okay, so when you're talking about guitars and sounds and a sound you're looking for even in a guitar, right? You need to consider more than just the guitar and the pickups and the pedals you're using. You need to also consider your amp cord. The quality of your amp cord will make a difference too on how that sound leaves, okay, and enters into the amp and then out through the speaker in that amp. And quality, and a lot of people have this thing, well, Marshall's the best, Roland's the best, Peavy's the best. You know what? I say, bleh, okay, bull, okay? There's no such thing as the best of anything on guitar amps, okay? There's no really such thing as the best guitar in the world, other than a lot of us do happen to just prefer Martins, and that's all there is to it. And eventually I'm buying another Martin, but I would never ever be able to afford anything more than $1,000 Martin, because layaway plan doesn't last that long at my music store. Otherwise, yeah, I'd go and buy a $5,000 or $10,000 Martin. You bet your buns I would. I've played on them. I love them, right? But even the $1,000 one I'm happy with. And eventually I'm going to be getting that. So, but everybody has their opinion what they think is the best. I watch a lot of videos myself. A lot of guys are Ibanez freaks, right? I'm nothing against Ibanez. I'm really nothing against most of the guitars that are out there. There are some really crappy guitar companies and crappy guitars out there. And I've owned and played on even some of the worst pieces of scrap wood out there for guitars in my life. And yeah, I mean, there is something to be said about Fender and Gibson and Martin and Yamaha. Definitely Yamaha. I mean, Yamaha's come a long ways even since 1984 with what they were making and charging at the time compared to nowadays. You can get a middle of the road Yamaha now for about $300. I mean, that's wild. You would never do that back then. My first Yamaha electric that I bought myself cost me over $700, and it took me a while to pay for that at that rate of minimum wage, because back in the 80s, for those of you who are Canadians, you'll remember minimum wage was what, 3 something an hour, like not even $3.50 an hour. So yeah, you worked your butt off, and it took me a while to pay for that Yami, and then I still had to get an amp for it later, and an amp cord, and oh my god. But nowadays, I mean, you can get the equivalent awesome stuff for way less money, which is great. So the tone wood debate, it's never going to end. It's just the way it goes. But, an amplifier is only going to make a guitar shine as well as that amplifier. The quality of the amp is, the quality of the guitar, the quality of the pickups, everything. And when it comes to an electric guitar solid body, there's more to it. The tone wood is a very minor thing, but it is going to affect it. It will. That's if you don't like it, tough. It does and will affect the sound quality. Your tuners affect the sound quality. Okay, if these things were all running loose, the nuts, right? Because all that holds these tuners in is one little tiny screw under each one, right? And then the nut and the washer, it's on a sleeve, goes in there, you bolt it down. That's all that's holding these pegs on, right? So if these nuts start running loose, it's going to change the sound of your own guitar. So you got to, make sure once in a while you make sure these are snugged up properly. Make sure your screws at the back aren't working loose, because they can over time, trust me. These are adjustable tuners on the tops, right? So these are sealed, permanently lubed, maintenance-free tuners. And they're virtually maintenance-free anyway. But you can adjust the tension to a certain point, right, with the screws on top. And so that changes and alters a little bit of how they can resonate with the wood, depending on how things are running, looser or tighter in the machine head. Your nut makes a difference on even electric solid bodies, and your hardware down in here, how well your tremolo's set up. I believe it was Scott Gross, he ripped apart a guitar, and I think it was him. It was either him or there's a guy, Dave something or other, he works on guitars. Anyways, there's a bunch of Kleenex in the inside of the back cover where all the springs are back here, because springs, when they vibrate too much, they can start to clatter together and cause stuff. And so you put a bunch of toilet paper or paper towel in there and divide them out, and they can't vibrate or clash against each other, and that affects the sound of the guitar too. you know, so, and that's just Kleenex. I mean, come on, really? But yeah, true, it actually does make a difference, right? So yeah, as far as I'm concerned, I don't care what you guys think. Um, Tone wood in guitars does actually make a difference. It's just not as critical as it is in an acoustic guitar, an acoustic electric guitar, a hollow body electric guitar, and even a semi-hollow body guitar, semi-hollow body electric. I've talked to a few people that I know, and some of them are kind of wishy-washy on it. Yeah, it kind of does, yeah, it kind of doesn't, because they also own hollow bodies too. But the thing is, you can't really compare an apple to an orange in that sense, because an actual hollow body electric is not even close to being a semi-hollow bottle electric, right? So there is a big difference there, right? So you can't compare apple to orange in that sense. So anyways, that's my take on everything, and that's, you know, something I just want to show you guys a little bit of with the amps, and, you know, running the same pedals, same amount of cable going through, blah blah blah. And, you know, and I'm not running expensive cables on my guitar, and in fact the cable that runs off the last pedal to my amp is an even cheaper cable. This cable at least is fixable. You know, every time I get a problem, I can just, you know, unsolder the wires, cut a little bit back, solder it back on. So as long as the rest of the plug stays in good shape, I'm good to go, and it's all gold plated. But I mean, this is only like about a $20 cable, and, you know, there's about 25 feet of it, you know, more than I need in here, but still, at least I got a whole lot of cable I can munch through over time. You know, but cable quality and connector quality, yeah, that makes a difference too in how your guitar is going to sound at the end, whether it's going to sound crappy at higher volumes especially, or even in the mix with pedals, you know. And same as your joiner, your loop cables for your pedals, you know, quality in the long haul does make a difference, especially if you're gigging a lot. You need to run high quality stuff, but you can get away with cheaper stuff too at home. You can even get away with the cheaper stuff, because I'm using it, even for gigging, but you're going to wear those cables out a lot faster, right? Especially if you're taking apart and putting them together a lot, right? But yeah, and there's so many other factors that can affect sound in guitars. It's just nuts. So, you know, and your setup on your guitar, how high your action is, your pickup heights, whether you angle your pickups or you don't, type of thing, it all affects it, right? So there's too many factors involved that are a deciding factor of, does tone wood make a difference? The bottom line is, whether you believe it or not, yes, in a solid body electric it does, but it's not a ton load of difference, right? Even Chappers, they proved it, right? A mahogany body against swamp ash, and everything else is claimed to be identical within, you know, even a millimeter on the wires for the pickups, and the pickups were said to be equally wound properly, which I don't believe that that's possible, but okay, whatever. Anyway, the thing is there was a noticeable difference when it was played acoustically, you know, through the amp, of course, so that you guys could hear it, right? But even that, a lot of guys have already gotten up there already, including one of the guitar makers that I like his channel too, you know, and it's kind of a back and forth thing, and it's not going to end, right? So, you know, it's been fun, it's been awesome with everybody trying to prove this or disprove that and everything else, but there's so many people that no matter how much proof you give them of one way or another, it's not going to make a difference. And you know, you think about it. The quality of the speakers on your computer make a difference in what you're going to hear through the video that's playing through your computer. You know, the quality of your computer, your connection to the internet is going to make a difference on how well that sound is reproduced through your computer and through your speakers that you have on your computer, whether they're built in or externals. So, I mean, even, you know, and that's a problem too, right? So, the best way is to prove it to yourself somehow, you know. A lot of guys have, you know, they say, oh, I swapped the necks across and the guitar was sounded totally different, right? So, you know, scale length of the neck alone by 2 frets made a difference. Wow! You know, having the good machine heads versus an open back set, you know, and on the same guitar, just swapping that made a difference. And you know what? I would believe that because your machine heads play an intricate role in the sound. Your strings, how live your strings are, how dead they are, makes a difference how your guitar sounds. Either way, you know, your frets, how high they are, how fat they are, everything. There's so much stuff involved in an electric guitar, it's nuts, okay? And people have a different way of hearing things. Not everybody's hearing is on the same frequency bandwidths, okay? Because some people don't clean the wax out of their ears often enough, right? Or just the fact that we're all different human beings, we all have different perceptions of sound. So some people will actually be able to hear the difference in something, where other people, it's like, it sounds the same to me. I don't know. I don't think it makes a difference at all. It doesn't, you know. And that's just the way it is, you know. So whatever, and hence another reason why this war will never come to an end. But I thought I'd put my 2 cents in anyhow. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll be sure to catch you on the next video.